Between the date of birth and the date of death, there's a tiny little dash. And this is where the story lies, where precious memories are stashed. This tiny line tells us all that someone had love to give, respect that was earned and a life well lived. This little mark doesn't say what she did, nor how it was done. It doesn't count the people who were impacted upon. This tiny line, it doesn't mention the laughter, the heartache, nor the love. Nor does it tell of how she left this world to travel up above. This little line doesn't mention the smiles, nor does it remember the tears, and it can't decipher the life, the hopes, the dreams and the fears. This tiny line cannot determine the world of dedication and devotion, nor can it measure our tears that can truly fill an ocean. That tiny line is a mere moment, a million memories we can all rehash. A life lived, a lady loved, a most memorable dash. Today we're here to say goodbye to a beautiful wife, loving mother, grandmother and dear friend. I speak of Edith Mary Anderson. On behalf of Colin, Marcia, Nigel and their families, I warmly welcome you. Your presence here today is so greatly appreciated. They would also like to welcome those who are joining us by live stream today. My name is Delma Carpenter, a funeral celebrant, and along with Amanda from Parkside Funerals, we feel privileged to have been asked to conduct this service for you. I would like to take this time to ask you if you could please turn your mobile phone off if you haven't already done so. What an exceptional woman Edith was. She may have carried the accumulation of years in her body and her face, but she had a young outlook on life and did not let her 96 years weigh on her spirit. In one sense, Edith was a private person, but on the other hand, she loved people to visit and enjoyed their company. Her warm and welcoming smile endeared her to many. She loved to stir, and Leo can vouch for this, and her quick wit and jovial sense of humour made her fun to be around. Edith had many funny sayings. For example, if her cup of tea was weak, she'd say, "Oh, that's a duck's puddle." And another one was, "I'll see you in the soup and we'll have a pea together." Being strong-willed and independent, she was reluctant to ask for help and liked to do things for herself. Edith grew up during the era when people were frugal out of necessity, and she continued throughout her life not being wasteful and was careful with how she spent her money. Life for Edith was being the traditional homemaker, cooking, cleaning and caring for her family. Edith spent many hours in the kitchen preserving, making jams, sauces and pickles, and cooking cakes and biscuits to fill the tins. Her grandchildren would remember when they went to visit Nana and Grandad, the first place that they would have checked was the pantry to see what goodies were in the tins. Edith also enjoyed being outside in the garden. She worked hard mowing the lawns, weeding, planting and pruning. She was proud of her productive veggie patch and liked to see lots of colour in her flower garden. When it came to the simple little things, she looked forward to doing the crossword in the newspaper with Colin every day. She loved a cup of tea, and chocolate ginger was her favourite. Edith's theory was that chocolate must have something addictive in it because she could not stop eating it. The family knew it was not advisable to ring Edith at 7 p.m. of a night. She was not keen to talk to anyone when Home and Away was on. She religiously watched the show and became involved in the lives of the people of Summer Bay. There's a saying that says, having somewhere to go is home, having someone to love is family, and having both is a blessing. Edith was certainly blessed. She had a beautiful, loving husband, children and grandchildren to be proud of. The death of someone like Edith that you dearly love, that you've shared the best part of your lives with, can sometimes be too much to bear. So today is a day of mixed emotions. While there is no one here who would wish Edith back to endure what she had, she was still here, a constant in the lives of so many. And when a person reaches such a grand age, it can be said that they've had a good life or a good innings. And yes, Edith at 96 years of age, she did have a good innings. But to the family and the ones that loved her, it doesn't matter if she was 146 years old. Her death brings a weight of finality, and the knowledge that she has left this world for good can be difficult to accept. And so we come to say goodbye, or do we? A very wise person once said that someone only dies if they die in your heart. And I ask you to remember that when you're missing Edith, the relationship you had with her, you still have, that will never die. May we now take comfort in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. I'd now like to invite Edith's daughter, Marcia, to come forward, and she's going to share Edith's eulogy with us.
Mum was born in Smithton on the 8th of August 1923. She was the eldest child of Agnes and Lambert Frankham, and later became a sister to Gordon, Don and Harold. Mum's early years were spent on her parents' farm at Pulbina, and she later attended school in Irishtown. Her love of the farm was so great that she only spent 1 year at Methodist Ladies' College in Launceston before she pleaded with her parents to return to the farm. In 1951, Mum travelled to England alone to meet and stay with extended family from her mother's side. This was quite the adventure. Just getting to England was a month-long ship journey in those days. Of all the stories Mum shared with me from this trip, my fondest was of her meeting her pen friend Marcia in person. They had been writing to each other for a few years by this stage, and meeting in person was special and cemented a lifelong friendship. Mum even named me after her. Upon returning from England, Mum resumed a friendship with Colin Anderson, and they went on to marry in the Church of England at Stanley on the 21st of May 1955. Their early married life was spent in Zeehan on the west coast of Tasmania, where I was later born. They moved to Smithton shortly after and went on to have my sister Lena and brother Nigel. Both Mum and Dad enjoyed life in Circular Head. Dad established a respected electrical business, and Mum ran the household, as well as participated in some of the local community groups, such as the Circular Head Women's Liberal Group, and volunteered with my Auntie Edna with the local Meals on Wheels. Anyone who visited Mum and Dad's home at 15 John Street, Smithton, would know that Mum was an avid gardener. Over the years, I had many trips with her to plant nurseries to add to her garden. Even into her 90s, she still grew a lot of fruit and vegetables and insisted on planting a cherry tree, much to the delight of the shop assistant at Cloverlea Plant Nursery. Most of the family, especially my brother Nigel, will remember that Mum especially enjoyed growing her own garlic, mostly so she could take great delight in serving up roasted garlic at family meals and awaiting the effect. Mum definitely had a wonderful sense of humour. A specific memory I have of Mum being cheeky was when I was in high school. It was Dad's birthday, and she bought him a box of old gold chocolate, which was his favourite. He decided to put the box in one of the kitchen cupboards, and as time went on, the box became hidden from view, and he forgot it was there. Mum didn't forget, though. The next year, as Dad's birthday approached, she laughingly told me, "What a big saving," and rewrapped the box and presented it to him on the day of his birthday. She managed to keep a straight face, right until Dad went to put the box back into the same cupboard. It was then that she owned up to her mischievousness. Mum's sense of humour seemed to develop more once she became a grandmother to Michael, Cara, Rachel, Elliot, Brooke, David and Sophie. She enjoyed spending time with all her grandchildren and often found a way to have a laugh with them. She was especially honoured when Mel and Sophie joined the family, and Sophie asked if she too could call her Nana. One fond memory was during a car ride when we were all staying at the shack at Trial Harbour. We were with Mum and Dad in their combi van. My daughter Cara was around the age of 10 at the time. We were playing I Spy, which was a common car game. Mum laughed hard at one point, and Dad told her she sounded like a cockatoo. It was then Cara's turn at I Spy, and she said, "I spy with my little eye something beginning with CG." No one could work it out. Was it in the car or outside the car? "Inside," said Cara. Eventually, everyone gave up, and Cara revealed that it was Cockatoo Granny. To this day, both of my children, Michael and Cara, often refer to Mum as their CG, and my grandson Matteo knows her as his great CG. Even when situations didn't necessarily go to plan, Mum found a way to have a laugh about it. One Christmas, when her grandchildren were only young, we gathered in the TV room to open presents. There stood the Christmas tree, nicely decorated and with twinkly coloured lights, but the actual tree had a very odd shape. Somehow, Mum had managed to insert the small branches at the bottom of the tree and the large ones at the top. When we asked her about it, she had a good laugh and even admitted that she had wondered why it had been a little harder to decorate that year. To make it even funnier was the fact that Dad had actually put the lights on the tree. Later that afternoon, Mum disappeared and sneakily pulled the tree apart and set things right. But it was never forgotten, and every Christmas we would ask her, and she would ask us, if we had managed to put the tree up the right way. It wasn't always laughs though, and certainly Mum faced challenging times too. Saying farewell to her grandson Elliot, and then later her daughter Lena, was especially hard. Lena's daughter Rachel was often in Mum's thoughts. She enjoyed speaking to her and making her a blackcurrant pie when she visited. Cooking was often an activity Mum would do with her grandchildren. Cara and Michael both recall cooking afternoons with Mum, particularly experimenting with new recipes which would involve laughing at both successes and failures. Likewise, even though Nigel's children, Brooke and David, were quite young at the time, they still remember Mum laughingly blaming mice for nibbling at the side of her freshly made cake when she noted pieces missing from the side when they had tried to have a sneaky taste. In recent years, Mum and Dad made the tough decision to move to Wynyard to be closer to family, and it was only at the end of 2019 that they both moved into Yamina Park to enjoy more support and assistance. Whilst Mum was always a fiercely independent woman, she settled into life at Yamina Park quickly and soon revealed her cheeky sense of humour. We are all thankful for the love and care she received at Yamina Park and that she passed away peacefully with her family present. Mum's life could be summed up by one of her favourite sayings, "A job well done."
That was a beautiful tribute to your mum, Marcia. We've heard about Edith's life in words, and we're now going to see her life in photos with a photo presentation. sure there are many stories behind the photos. I especially love the black and white photos, and you can soon see how life has changed, not only the fashions but the vehicles as well. I'd like to read a poem now, and you may like to read along with me, follow along with me. It's in your service sheet. It's Remember Me, and it's been chosen by the family to be read today. Don't remember me with sadness, don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life, it was worthwhile, knowing that I passed along the way and I made somebody smile. When you walk down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you each morning, noon and night. The family have asked me on their behalf to thank Yamuna Park Home for the Aged for their wonderful, wonderful care and support of their mother and their father Colin. As well, they would like to sincerely thank you for your presence here today and invite you to join them for a short burial service at the Burney Lawn Cemetery next door. If you're unable to make it to the burial service, you're most welcome to wait here at Parkside for the family to return. I would now ask if you could please stand if you are able.